Has Brexit finally run its course in British politics? Prime Minister Keir Starmer is betting everything that it has. Yesterday, Starmer unveiled what could be the most significant reset of UK-EU relations since the Brexit referendum nearly 9 years ago. But unlike the drama that's defined Britain's relationship with Europe for the past decade, Starmer is hoping you won't find this latest chapter particularly exciting. In a joint press conference with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Antonio Costa, Starmer announced a comprehensive new deal covering trade, defense, fishing rights, and mobility schemes. The agreement represents the third major international deal struck by his government in just 3 weeks, following agreements with the United States and India. This is about facing out into the world once again, in the great tradition of this nation, Starmer declared. Building the relationships we choose with the partners we choose, and closing deals in the national interest. The timing of this reset is significant. Nearly 9 years after Britain voted to leave the European Union, the global landscape has shifted dramatically. Russia's invasion of Ukraine continues to threaten European security, while U.S. President Donald Trump's policies have pushed both the UK and EU to reevaluate their alliances. Against this backdrop, Starmer sees an opportunity to repair relations while delivering practical benefits to British citizens. At the heart of the deal is a new sanitary and phytosanitary agreement that will slash red tape for food and agricultural products crossing borders. The government claims this will lead to lower food prices and more choices in supermarkets, as the vast majority of animal and plant products will no longer require the certificates or controls currently mandated. Perhaps the most contentious element is the extension of fishing rights, allowing EU vessels to continue accessing UK waters until 2038, a 12-year extension beyond the current arrangement. In exchange, British businesses gain greater access to EU markets, including a special arrangement for steel exports. To soften the blow to fishing communities, the government has announced a £360 million investment fund to modernize the UK fishing fleet. The deal also establishes a robust security and defense partnership, potentially enabling British defense giants like BAE, Rolls-Royce, and Babcock to participate in the EU's proposed £150 billion Security Action for Europe Fund. This collaboration could support thousands of jobs while addressing shared security concerns. For everyday Britons, the agreement promises streamlined border procedures with expanded e-gate access at European airports. Young people will benefit from a framework allowing those under 30 to live and work across the continent for limited periods, while students might see the revival of the popular Erasmus Plus exchange program. The government projects substantial economic gains, claiming the combined impact of the new measures will contribute nearly £9 billion to the UK economy by 2040. Business groups have largely welcomed the announcement. Tina McKenzie from the Federation of Small Businesses called it genuine progress that would benefit small exporters and help clear the bottleneck at the border. The British Retail Consortium praised the agreement for keeping costs down and creating greater security in retail supply chains. But Starmer's political calculation extends beyond economics. His entire approach is based on the assessment that the British public has simply moved on from the divisive Brexit debates that dominated the last decade. As BBC chief political correspondent Henry Zeffman noted, Sir Keir's big bet is that nobody really cares anymore. During the press conference, Starmer repeatedly emphasized the need to progress beyond what he called the stale old debates of the Brexit era. His messaging focused squarely on practical benefits rather than ideological positions, describing the deal as good for jobs, good for bills, and good for our borders. This stance aligns with Labour's 2024 election manifesto, which promised to improve the UK's trade relationship with the EU while maintaining that there would be no return to free movement and no rejoining of the EU, its single market, or customs union. Despite Starmer's attempts to frame the agreement as pragmatic common sense, it has predictably reignited Brexit divisions across the political spectrum. The Conservative Party, now led by Kemi Badenoch, has criticized the deal as a surrender, particularly targeting the fishing rights extension and agricultural regulations. "We're becoming a rule taker from Brussels once again," Badenoch warned. Reform UK's Nigel Farage, ever the Brexit champion, was more scathing, claiming the deal would spell the end of the British fishing industry and create a backdoor to free movement. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson called it a complete and deliberate betrayal of Brexit that turns the UK into the gimp of Brussels. The Liberal Democrats, meanwhile, welcomed the positive first steps while urging Starmer to be more ambitious, including rejoining the EU's customs union. Current polling suggests Starmer's political gamble might be well calculated. Surveys indicate that while the majority of Britons now regret the decision to leave the EU, they aren't necessarily in favor of rejoining. This creates space for Starmer's middle path, improving relations with the EU while maintaining the fundamental Brexit settlement. What makes Starmer's approach distinct is his attempt to be the first truly post-Brexit prime minister. Unlike his predecessors who were defined by their positions on Brexit, Starmer is positioning himself as the leader who finally moved Britain beyond it. Other governments have talked and talked with great rhetoric about what they're going to achieve, and achieved nothing, he stated, drawing an implicit contrast with previous Conservative administrations. The coming months will reveal whether this balancing act succeeds. If opposition to the agreement becomes a significant campaign platform for other parties, it will suggest that Brexit remains a potent political force that could be mobilized against the government. But if the public reaction is largely muted, it may confirm Starmer's assessment that most Britons simply want practical solutions that deliver tangible benefits. For a nation that has experienced one of the most politically turbulent periods in its history, cycling through 5 prime ministers before Starmer took office last July, the prospect of moving beyond Brexit divisions holds undeniable appeal. The question is whether Starmer's reset truly represents a new chapter or merely the latest installment in Britain's complex European saga. What do you think? Has Britain finally moved beyond Brexit, or will this deal reignite the divisions that have dominated UK politics for nearly a decade? In a world of increasing global uncertainty, with shifting alliances and emerging threats, Starmer's reset might just represent something more profound than a technical trade agreement. It could signal Britain's readiness to redefine its place on the world stage, no longer defined by what it left behind, but by the relationships it chooses to build.